Welcome to Let's Get Metaphysical, the show that stretches you beyond your five senses. When you are looking for your next step on the path into the unseen, we've got you covered. Join epic adventure seekers and level up your game with your host, reality magician Allie Bierman.
Greetings, epic adventure seekers. I'm Allie Bierman, your guide to demystifying your world. And you are listening to Let's Get Metaphysical, connecting heart and mind. You met today's guest, Dr. Karen Kan, back in episode 56, Creating Global Wellness. And I feel so honored and super excited that we get to go all out for a fun chat. She's back today. Now, before jumping in, I want to say, we're going to have some unusual explorations today. And I have a question for you. Does your world look the same day after day? Because if you, like most people, are putting your past in your present day after day after day, and then you're wondering, how come my life keeps turning out the same way every day? Well, you can download the guide. It's a quick guide that I wrote for you called Step in a New Direction, because how are you going to live a different life unless you stop going back in the old steps and in the new ones? And that link will be in the show notes. And now it is time to turn off all distractions, tune in with all your senses as we welcome Dr. Karen Kan back for another visit. She's everywhere, and she's brilliant, and she's entertaining. So just to give you a piece where you can pick and choose, and all these links will be in the show notes. On YouTube, you can find her on the LifeWave micro training, on Healthy Habits, Healthy Life, the Spiritual Medicine Digest. You can find her on Light Warrior Radio, which you can also find on Audible, Light Warrior Network, Light Medicine Community. And I just have to share this. Sensitivity is your superpower. I've written lots of books. I've written over 1,000 articles, and I've never seen anything like this. And, well, you'll find out about the gift she has. So if you identify yourself as a super sensitive person, you want to get this, or you know somebody, they will greatly appreciate the gift. And the link for all of that will also be in the show notes. So Dr. Karen, welcome, welcome, welcome. And may I ask you to please share 3 interesting facts about you that very few people know.
Hi, Allie. So great to be back on the show. Thank you for inviting me again. It's always a great honor to be with you and your beautiful energy. And, it's funny with this question about what people may not know about me. I am so, like you said earlier, out there is like people pretty much know almost everything, including when I need to buy underwear. I ask for a coupon code to come in my mail and poof, it happens. Okay, so I suppose that could be one thing. Well, I like to share that many people don't know actually that I'm a student of Kung Fu. So I've always loved Kung Fu since I was a child. Of course, I'm Chinese. We watch a lot of Kung Fu movies where, where what they're saying, it doesn't go with the audio, like tons of those. And my husband is actually in love with Kung Fu as well. And he became a Kung Fu instructor. So I am his #1 student. So that may be something people don't know. The second thing is he's also an African, he's actually American, but he's an African drummer. So he taught me how to do West African drumming. And we also met some dancers, so I learned to do some dance as well. So I'm actually a fairly proficient West African drummer. And last but not least, although this is, I can't say people don't know about this, but I began figure skating at the age of almost 29 years old. We're talking like hanging onto the boards for dear life, couldn't stop. And it seemed like it was a shame because I was Canadian and all Canadians knew how to skate except this person. So my husband at the time encouraged me to learn figure skating, and I wanted to quit after 2 weeks. And he encouraged me to continue in very blunt words, because he was very blunt. He's like, just because you're a medical doctor, you don't have to be good at everything. Go ahead and quit if you want. But how are you? You paid the money. You might as well just finish out the 20 weeks. And I thought about it and I thought, I don't like it when he's right. Yeah, I did want to be a perfectionist and I wanted to quit, but I kept going and found some beautiful coaches who we're still friends with. Jackson is 80s now, and they really treated me as an equal, like I could do everything that the kids were doing. And I ended up in competitions, ended up winning, oh gosh, I've lost count, but at least 14 medals, including most of them gold, in adult figure skating and ice dance, pairs and singles, and doing ice dance with my current husband as well. We've done shows. We just recently did some Christmas shows. So yeah, so those are the three things to answer your question, Holly. Thank you for letting me say all that.
Well, it's really, really neat. I also play West African drums, and we had the same set, and I play djembe, but I always want to play, what are they called?
The dununs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite instrument that you like to play?
James plays a whole bunch of different things. He plays the kren and the balafon. We just make up stuff. So we're not really proficient at the balafon, which is like a big, huge xylophone that's wooden. So dununs and djembe, I like them both equally. The dununs are these huge ones that generally one person per size, but we often didn't have enough drummers. So we would play all three at once, standing up. And you're supposed to play them on their sides. So you'll actually have a bell that you're tinging with one hand and a stick with the other. And that was really fun. I like to challenge myself because just my personality. I would actually play left-handed and then I would switch. During practice, I would switch to my non-dominant hand and play the other way. And the other drum students was like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's good for your brain, right? Yeah, so I was known to be able to pop back and forth and do either side, and I figured it was good for my brain, so I just learned how to do it both ways.
That's cool. But after I had that first brain injury, I moved my mouse to be worked with my left hand for exactly what you said, so that, and when somebody sits down at my computer, they go crazy. They can't. It's like, that's interesting.
Right. People get so used to what they're used to. And when I had frozen shoulder that I healed from, but during the frozen shoulder, I couldn't mouse with that hand. So I just moused with the left hand and learned to be proficient at it.
That's
just like you did.
You're talking a little earlier. I wanted to throw out when I was working on my doctorate, which I didn't get to finish because the injury took me out of the program. I remember I had a professor who used to sit in the front of the room and just read from the text. And I go crazy because at that time I was visual. Like I would know what words I saw where on which page. And I used to go bananas. And I thought, I wish I could be auditory. And you got to be careful what you wish for, because after that injury, I was no longer visual and I'm very auditory, which comes in handy because I listen to podcasts and audiobooks all the time and I can really get them, but you absolutely have to watch. And you don't even have to speak it because if it's in your thoughts, it's out there.
Well, it must have been for your highest good. Otherwise, you wouldn't be who you are today. So yes, sometimes we do need to be a little bit more specific what we need or what we desire.
Yeah. I don't think anybody will be too surprised in our listeners because we have some very interesting discussions and everybody's unique.
Right. Well, I thought, one really, really fun thing, or at least I think it's fun, is to talk about supernatural stories. I don't often get a chance to just casually chat about these things because usually when I'm on an interview, we have a particular topic and a particular, honed in exercise, that kind of thing. So it's only in the company of just, friends. And, when I'm casually chatting to a group, do they get to hear these stories? I didn't even make it in my book because there's so many of them. So I thought it'd be kind of fun maybe to talk. We can start with the topic of ghost stories. So if you have some stories, maybe you can share. I'm happy to share the variations of the ones that I have.
I have a very good friend who has one who lives in her house. And when I visit her, her bedroom's downstairs and I'd stay upstairs. And I knew that's where the ghost was. And I had visited her once with one of my friends who saw her. So I knew her name was Mary. And whenever I go to visit, I say, please, Mary, I don't want to see you because I just think I'll be scared. So I've never seen her, so I don't actually have one. But that same friend told me she was out in the country in the mountains. She was walking down the road one day and there was a woman coming toward her. And for a moment, she looked away. And when she looked back, woman was totally gone, totally out of sight. So I'm looking forward to hearing your stories.
Well, I would love to be able to tell you that I see them, and for the most part, I don't. So here's the thing is that clairvoyance comes in two different forms. Clairvoyance comes in what I call outer seeing, so seeing as in like with your physical eyes, and inner vision. So my inner vision is much stronger than my outer vision. In fact, my outer vision, I've had surgery on my eye from retinal detachments, laser surgery, and so I wear contact lenses and or glasses. So the outer vision, do I feel that it could be stronger? Yes. However, I do not take the time to train it because my inner vision is so strong, I don't bother, to be honest. I don't bother. However, my husband's outer vision is actually quite natural. So it's funny because I'm the one that, does the muscle testing and the connection with source and asking, what is this? What is that? So I'll just give you some examples of how we've kind of interacted with each other. He being the outer visual clairvoyant and me being the inner more clairsentient, meaning I feel stuff in the body. But there are other spiritual senses that people have as well. Like you talked about hearing, right? Auditory, like clairaudience, being able to hear things sometimes people can't actually hear. Smell, like being able to smell something that the average person can't smell because it's in another dimension. Ghosts, for example, can smell a certain way and then we can sense them and not know that that's what we're smelling. Clairgustance, which is basically taste, intuitive hits through taste. And of course, there's clairknowing, which is what everybody would love to do, is just know, right? Just know. They don't have to guess, they just know. So that one we all want to unlock. But the funny thing is that there's really kind of funny stories about how people develop these kinds of things, or at least to find out about them. So I'd love to tell you a story about when I was first learning about entities. So entities in this case, we're talking about low vibrational entities such as ghosts. Those are generally, people that have not crossed over, if you will, that they've died, but their spirit is still in our dimension. It's not healthy for them to be in this dimension. And it's not healthy for us humans to also have them hang around because they can get attached to us and suck energy from us, not necessarily because they want to, but that's just what happens. Even concerned, like a concerned parent who dies unexpectedly may attach to their child because they want to take care of the child, not knowing that them doing that actually makes the child ill. So these negative entities I first heard about from Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is the author of the Emotion Code and the Body Code book and the systems, the Emotion Code and Body Code. And he had all sorts of interesting stories about entities and shared with us how to simply, release them or heal them. And so I was so interested in that. I've always been interested in ghost stories and horror films and also since I was young. I don't know why. Now I know why. Because I wasn't scared. You see, a lot of people are scared. Now, of course, if I saw one in front of me, maybe I would be scared. However, I'm really into the supernatural. I've always been. Love those movies. Love those TV shows. Scarier the better. So when he taught about that, I thought, oh, well, let me just check and see what's going on, right? So I got into, doing muscle testing and checking, and I was really surprised at how many of my patients were affected by negative entities. Not even just ghosts, but sometimes what other people would call negative or evil spirits, things like that. Those are not formally embodied, human beings. So they exist. But for me, it was more like curiosity. So one day, as I'm, training this and learning this, and not really knowing how to have healthy boundaries with my home, there was one case where I had first been in the office. This patient, was on the acupuncture table, and I went back in afterwards. I said, "How are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm just wondering, do you have something wrong with your light?" And I said, "My light?" And she said, "Yeah, it's been flickering." And I thought, it doesn't flicker. Okay. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I said, hang on. Let me check what's going on. So I got that it was a ghost. And I said, okay, well, I don't want you to be scared. It is a ghost. And she immediately said, oh, it's my dad. I said, oh. And I checked him and I said, yep, it is your dad. And so, we did a little exchange and whatever she needed to know. And I said, okay, well, we can release him into the light. And she goes, no, I'm not ready. And I thought, oh boy. I said, well, it's not really healthy for them here and vice versa. She goes, I know. It'll be okay. I won't do it for long. I just miss him and I just want him around for a little bit longer. I'm like, okay. So I thought this is a little odd. Normally we just heal the ghost. And I said, okay. So we just made a mental note. Well, not that long afterwards, I can't remember whether it was weeks or days, but it wasn't more than 3 weeks time. I'm in bed and I'm just reading and doing something else. And then the lights flicker. And I was like, and my husband comes in, doo-dee-doo. I'm like, wait. Back then it was very serious. I was like, wait, there's a ghost here. And he's like, okay. And he just drops out of the room, right? So I'm testing who is it? And well, long story short, it was the dad. It was her dad. I said, oh, I'll call her Jane. That's not her real name. I said, oh, so are you ready to cross over? He's like, yep. And I said, is Jane okay with that? And he said, yes. So we did cross him over. And I thought, well, this could get interesting and this could become a full-time job. But it wasn't like, I was like, I'm in my pajamas, in the bedroom. It's a little bit vulnerable feeling. And then another case where I'm sitting at the dinner table with my husband and I smell like this rank, like kind of BO odor, right? And I look at my husband, I'm like, you stink. And he's like literally going like this. And then I do that to him, right? And I'm like, it's not you. Okay. Who is it, right? And so it was actually a drunk guy. It was a ghost, drunk guy coming for help. I said, okay, all right. Yeah, we're in the middle of dinner, but sure, So we heal him. And, I kept getting these like instances where people would come to the house. There was a movie. I'm not even going to say the name because I did clear the movie, but just in case. There was a movie. I thought it was going to be some spiritual movie talking about entities because I couldn't really find anything that was like a training, teaching kind of movie. And it wasn't that. So I had a whole bunch of friends over, young people, watch this movie, and we were all feeling really tired after the movie. And so I was asking God after, why, what's going on? Why? I didn't know they were tired. I was tired. So I said, what's going on? And God's like, well, there are entities outside your house. I'm like, what? And it was like 9 dark angels, like high level entities, right? Dark angels. And I'm like, okay, are they harming anybody? No. So I was like, I don't get it. Why are there 9 like dark angels? And it was because we were watching the movie. The movie was warning people about entities, but all the symbolism they were showing in the movie actually attracted the evil spirits to the movie. So the movie had the attachments of these 9 dark angels who apparently, obviously were there so I could clear them. And the reason we were tired, Ali, was because our positive vibrational energy was being used to heal them. And then now when I figured that out, then I'm like, oh, well, there's a much faster, quicker, easier way to do it, right? So we did that. They were gone. And so I called up my friends and I said, were you tired? And they were like, oh my God, I was exhausted, right? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. There are entities attached to that movie. Now I know that's possible. So I apologize, for the terrible movie that I had you guys watch. And, everything's cleared and it's all good. But we learned along the way these little things. Like Claire Essence, the drunk smelly guy was a ghost, the tiredness, the clairsentience, again, that was, clearing the entities. That is a spiritual gift that people may have. And there can be anything. One time I did have a clairaudient. I don't have this very often, unless I'm not training it. So I'm in the car. We're coming from skating. My husband and I, the window's down because it's kind of hot out. And I see there's people, in the house over here, and we pass them. And there's a car in front of us, with one of those personalized license plates. And so I'm kind of like, what does that say? And then I hear a voice from back here, blah, 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 right? And I turn, and I'm looking at the people outdoors. They're not looking at me. They're not talking. I said, honey, did you hear that? And he goes, yeah. Like, it's like somebody was answering me, but it can't be those people. They're really far away. So I'm like, okay, back to testing. So connect with source, test, and it is literally a demon in the back seat. Now I can't see the demon. Of course, it freaked my husband out, poor thing. There's a demon in the back seat. And so I'm like having this really, really, really fast conversation with the angels, right? And then sort of like, okay, why is the demon in the back seat? I thought we had kind of a rule, like no demons in the car, right? And so long story short, I asked the demon, okay, why are you here? Well, the angel sent me. I was like, angel sent you. So I'm then asking the angels, why did you send this demon to my car, right? I'm like, you can clear them. Like, I don't have to do this, right? And they're like, you need to learn something. I'm like, oh, what is it I need to learn? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to treat the demon like they're a client. So what is it they need? And I found out that they had some sort of, it was like a curse, oath, vow, curse thing, like something that was multi-generational. I didn't even know they had kids, but like a multi-generational evil spirit thing that bound them on some level, that they were being punished. I don't know. It was just really awful stuff. And then I realized that the reason the angel told them to come to me was because I needed to learn to love them. Because before that, I think I just thought they were bad, They were bad. They're like evil. They're trying to hurt people sometimes. And that helped me because I realized not all demons want to keep doing what they're doing. This one was actually asking for help. And so I think my heart kind of burst open that day. And I was able to heal the demon and actually be able to love them and the ghosts and whatever. And realizing we're all just, if we really are one, many of your audience, have heard that we are all one. So what does that mean? Well, that means I am the demon. I am God. I am Hitler. I am everyone. And so is everyone else. So if we're all just fractals of the same one, why would I literally demonize, this other being who's low vibration, who I maybe do not like or do not resonate with? So that was huge. That was so huge. And so when there would be entities, it's like meet them with love, and things would heal faster. Now, I was a little disturbed with, people coming into my house day in and day out. Day in and day out. Not that I could see them, but I could feel them, and my husband could see them. You see, he could see lots of bits, and he wasn't the funnest thing for him. So a friend of mine gave me a hint that to create a vortex around in through the home, which is now part of our healing, the Topican healing method. It's like a protocol that we have. We create a vortex that goes all the way down to the center of the earth, all the way up to the sky. As long as we maintain our vibration and light, day in, day out, it holds. And so if entities are attracted to the light, which sometimes they are, so they're attracted to the light, they hit the vortex and they heal. I don't have to deal with ghosts or demons, generally speaking, on a one-on-one basis any longer. So that's a lot of stories.
That's so interesting, because all the people who I study and follow, they say you can't bring light to the darkness. The darkness has to come to the light, and that's what you experience.
Well, I may think I'm open to all possibilities, right? Because if you think about it, the darkness, like if you run, go into a dark room, you can't actually turn on the dark in a light room, correct? Like so once you turn on the light, the darkness, it disappears. You didn't kill the darkness, but it just disappears. So yeah, there are elements of the dark that are so done with their lack of choice, with their what they vowed or what they thought they made oaths to. And a lot of times the so-called evil spirits have been told a lie. And we know what that's like as a human, being told lies. It doesn't feel very good, right? But they've been told lies. They've been told that the light will kill them, will annihilate them. They would cease to exist. And like most beings, they don't want to die. not knowing that they actually can't die. So they were told a fallacy so that those that rule over them would manipulate them to do their bidding. So, so when they realize, wait a second, you mean that's not real, that's not true, then they're more than happy oftentimes, just because they're pretty tired too of doing the same old. So there are, legions of low vibrational entities clearing and healing on our planet right now, and more being on Earth to clear and heal. And it's wonderful. Sometimes it feels a little messy in the meantime. Sometimes it looks chaotic in the world, but it's a really, really positive thing that's happening around the world.
It's interesting. I had a colleague with whom I studied in one of my main courses, and she said one day she was in a class, which I don't know why I missed it, and they were working on somebody, and all of a sudden an entity came up out of the body and walked through the room, like pushing people out of the way. So I know that person doesn't make up stories, so I've been aware of that for a long time. I personally only see angels. I'm glad.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Well, my friend Michael, he did see Archangel Michael one time. He was in deep meditation. And my friend Michael is shorter than I am. So I'm 5'4", so he's maybe 5'2", something like that. So a little guy, super, super sweet guy. So he's in, this deep meditation. He opens his eyes and he sees this, 7-8 foot tall angel with a sword. And he instantly recognized it was Archangel Michael, and then it just faded. But it was fascinating. His name is Michael, he hasn't had that vision since, but that was pretty cool. And then my husband one time walked into the bedroom and felt a feather against him. Now, the thing is, our angels really have feather wings? No, but it's symbolism that they can communicate to us, right? He goes, what was that? And I said, okay, let me test. So I tested, and yeah, it was one of the archangels that just wanted to make themselves known that they were there for us. So, because half the time, sorry guys, half the time I don't pay attention to them at all, except when I need something done, right? But I suppose that isn't very nice. But they know I do really, really appreciate them. Yeah, so I'll let you chat for a little bit, Ali, because I've been talking your ear off. I have ET stories too, in case you want any of those.
Yeah, I lived in the country up on a ridge in Idaho, and I had friends who regularly visited with ETs, and the wife said, I think we should take Allie with us. And he said, no, I don't think we should, so I didn't get to go.
Aww. Well, I have a friend named Bob. His real name is Bob, and we call him Conspiracy Bob because years ago I met him at the skating rink. He was so interesting. We just became friends. He really loved figure skating. I loved it. He also would take really great photographs of my favorite skaters, and he would just gift these photos to me. So we got to be friends, and he was telling me all sorts of political and all sorts of crazy conspiracy stuff, ETs and things like that. And I don't know whether to believe him or not, but he sounded so convincing, like he knew what he was talking about, right? And he'd drop all these names. I had no idea what these names were. Well, guess what? Since the pandemic, a lot of these names have come out. And I'm like, I know who he's talking about now. Even movies, right? Like all the CIA files and MK Ultra and like all these things that he used to tell me about are actually true. The funny thing with Bob is he's always had this connection with ETs, and he could vector them in very easily, the ships anyway. So I said, Bob, you're a starseed. And he goes, yeah, probably. I'm like, of course you are. That's why you can vector these guys in really easily. So we'd laugh though, because he'd be like, Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, Shanti. And he'd look in the sky, right? And he would see, the movement and Om Shanti, and it would, he's like, what did he call it? Not flare up. I can't remember what he asked them to say hello, just to make the light brighter. And they would, right? But in one occasion, I'm never with him during these occasions, but one occasion he literally vectored in, and it was like this big, huge ship was in front of him and his friend. And I'm like, oh man, I missed it. And he goes, yeah, well, we got scared. I'm like, seriously, why are you vectoring at ET UFOs if you get scared? Like, doesn't make sense. It's sort of like those ghost hunter TV shows, right? Where they're like, they got the equipment and they're like checking for ghosts. They're like, oh, I wonder if somebody's down here, right? And then they hear a sound and they're like, ah! And they're running away. I'm like, why are you running away? You're looking for ghosts. So just stay put. So we'd laugh at Bob, and Bob would have a chuckle too, and he hasn't done anything like that since. But I'm like, next time, Bob, he goes, well, I think I'd like to get on a ship. Well, then stop being scared, okay? Because it's not going to happen if you get scared. So far, well, I did get invited to be on a ship once, but it was all telepathic. So it's not like they landed on my front yard. That would have been cool. But yeah, it was before the pandemic. It was like, I can't remember the name of the council now. Galactic Council, okay. Anyway, I'll just say Galactic Council, but it may not be them. So they were like, we would like you to come, and contribute. And I was like, are you talking to me? And I was thinking, why do they want me? Right. And I'm like, so I have to leave my family and my dog. And so I was really attached to my earthly whatevers, at the time. And then I was like, so do you have a skating rink on your ship? Right? I mean, they're trying to save the world, and I want a skating rink on the ship. So I would go. Anyway, so I said no, actually. Yeah, so I said no. Although I think there was a concession that, yeah, James could come. But I just said, no, I don't know. I just can't do it. It's not that I'm like, why do you want me on the council? They want the human perspective, la, 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 right? And I was like, I mean, there's a ton of humans that would love to do that, right? I'm just doing my thing. I'm in my office and the whole bit. Had no idea and then I was going to be gone for a while, like 18 months, 2 years, right? It was going to be a while. So I just like, I don't think I can do that. Like, I can't leave my family for like all these reasons, right? So I did not. And then the pandemic hit, and guess what? Haven't seen my family for over 2 years. I was like, okay. Well, I think they knew, but they couldn't tell me. Yeah, I think they probably knew what was coming, but they, I had to make the decision, without knowing the future, if you will. And would I have changed my mind? Maybe. I might have changed my mind. Now I'm like, hey, yeah, you know what? You want to land the ship in my yard? I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm good with that. Where are we going? Where are we going? So I'm fine with it now. But before I just couldn't let go of the earthly attachments that I had, leaving my family and, all this kind of stuff. The practicalities, all that kind of stuff. And I think probably half the population on the planet, during the pandemic would have been like, beam me up, Scotty. I don't want to be here no more. Right.
Mm.
So, yep.
We could go on for hours. I have lots of stories too. And I hear things and I get messages. So if I'm working on somebody, these words come out of my mouth and I tell the person, that wasn't me speaking. It just came through.
Yes. Yeah. It's neat how we can connect and sometimes just tell the person what they really need to know, through their guide or through however we, channel that positive information. Yeah. The extraterrestrials it's been interesting because you would think I would be very curious to know all the details, but sometimes I don't, because it's just, we're living this human life, and that's part of our purpose is to live a human life. And even though on some soul level, I was a star person previously, it's not like a daily thing I think about or anything like that. Although there's certain people you see, like sometimes they're celebrities or, you see and you're like, ooh, they're whatever species. But, I don't know a lot about the different species. I only know what I need to know to help. So one time, James, because he's outward clairvoyant, he'll be like, there is something right there in our living room. I don't know what it is. I said, okay, well, since you don't want to test what it is, I can test, but how does it feel? And he's like, it doesn't feel bad. I'm like, okay. And then I'll test. And I'm like, you're right. It is not an entity portal. It's not an entity. It's actually an extraterrestrial, you know. And so then I'll have, you know, through muscle testing and source connecting us, I'll have a conversation. And this one time they were actually consulting me. Again, I think the universe wants me to like learn something. And I was like, wait a second. They're consulting little old me, little old human me. Like, why? I mean, these guys are really advanced. You know what I mean? Like they know how to do this telepathic, multidimensional communication thing. So they were like, you know, well, we need these microorganisms on our planet. Now, of course, they're not talking to like this. I'm muscle testing the whole thing and things popping into my mind. And so I test all these things. So they were transporting microorganisms that we had to their planet. It wasn't something that we were going to be at a lack for, but they weren't surviving, you know, but they needed these microorganisms to make their planet work. And that makes sense to me. You know, we need microbiome, both for the planet and our gut and our bodies. So I figured out that one of the reasons is the dimensional travel, if you will, from our dimension, if you will, of the microbes. They couldn't survive that shift in dimension because humans would get really sick too. You know, if there were dimensional portals near them, they can get really sick because they're not used to it. They don't know how to tolerate that. Their energy bodies are really dense. So the microorganisms were having that. So what we did was we created a healing so to synchronize the microorganisms to their dimension so that they could survive in their dimension. And the funny thing is it's not that that's that hard to do, but they didn't think about it. Like it didn't dawn on them to do that. So it was like, wow, I feel brilliant here. I figured something out for the ETs. How cool is that, right? So that's kind of neat. People that, you know, put ETs on a pedestal or whatever, you know, it's like we're all beings. We're all doing the best we can. Some things that humans do really well is imagine, and some extraterrestrials are just like, wow, you humans are so amazing. And we're like, really? We think you're amazing, right? So everyone's having this amazing party. So just everyone listening here, you are amazing. And yes, we're human, and sometimes we can be overly humble, but each of us are unique and amazing, and all of us can enjoy living together in harmony.
Yes, thank you. That is definitely a message for the world. Before we go, would you please share the special gift that you have for everyone?
Sure. Yes. So I created a little quiz. It's called the Sensitive Soul Type Quiz. So it's a little quiz where there's just a few number of questions and you answer it, and it approximates what kind of soul you have or soul type that you have. Now, some sensitive souls are actually angels in earthly bodies. Some are actually star people, like they used to be, you know, an Arcturian or a Pleiadian, for example, in other lifetimes, and they're now in a human body. Some are what I call indigo or indigo crystal souls, that they're evolved human souls. They're usually here to buck the system and to like shine a light on when things are not working, you know. Those are our typical indigo energies. And then we have the other category I call light being star seeds. They are those that are star people, but actually in their other lifetimes, they don't have a body. So they're just pure light. And when they volunteer to be here as humans on Earth, sometimes there can be little glitches in terms of their physical bodies functioning properly if they don't know who they are and they don't know how to ground all that amazing light in their body. So this quiz helps, through those questions, figure out which of those main, you know, sensitive soul types you are. And so far, so accurate. Like a lot of people have said, it's incredibly accurate. Some people already know what they are, but they'll answer the questions anyway just to see what they get. And you know, it's very, very, well, I can't say for sure unless you go to a healer like one of my students or myself to test you, but it really is approximating the soul type you are. And so it's really just for fun, and it's kind of like a little game, but it can really help because some people read the description and go, oh my gosh, that is me. Thank you. Thank you. Now I know why I'm such and such, or now I know why I feel such and such. So it's really fun. And then we'd love for everyone to come to our Light Medicine community. And Ali has the link below the video. So you can certainly join Ali and me there in the Light Medicine community as well.
Why, thank you. This has been even more fun than I could have imagined.
Thank you, Ali, for the opportunity.
I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. And definitely check out all the links. I'll be in the show note. Remember to join our Facebook group, make a friend, ask whatever questions you have. I put something in there every day, so you'll get some extra little tidbits. And you can listen to or watch any of our episodes. And this is actually episode 99, so I'm getting ready to make my first 100 show. And all of this will be in the show notes with all of the links. And I remind you to enjoy, that's capital I-N, capital J-O-Y, every moment, because nothing happens out there, and it all happens within.
You've been listening to a talk on the wilder side. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Metaphysical. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a single episode, and while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every Monday for more exciting insights and wisdom on life beyond your five senses. Until next time, take a small step in a new direction. Start now.